Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll go through this PPT. This is better, I think. Yes. SIMA, process synchronization, right? So as we see the syllabus, if you see your syllabus, let me open the syllabus now. Uh, one second. Yeah. Right. So if you see your third unit is consisting of three parts, deadlocks, process management and synchronization, then inter-process communication mechanisms, right? So we are done with the deadlocks part, right? So in that system model characteristics, right? Methods for handling deadlocks, in that prevention, avoidance, detection and recovery we discussed. Now if you take the second part, so this second part deals with process management and synchronization. So mainly we will be concentrating on the synchronization. So in that, first we will see what is critical section problem, and for that the solution we have Peterson solution for the critical section problem. Then we discuss about the synchronization hardware. So with the software we will be handling the synchronization. Now here we try to see how we can achieve the synchronization with the hardware, and we discuss about the semaphores and the classical problems of synchronization and critical regions monitors, right? So in this class we are going to discuss about this. Let's start with the synchronization part, right? Shall I start the class, guys?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Yeah, okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So see here, this in this we will be discussing about the critical section problem, then solution for the critical section problem, synchronization hardware, then we will see about the mutex and semaphores. So mutex is used to uh, maintain the locks on the critical section, on the common air space where multiple processes are trying to get the access to it, right? So what are the main objectives of this chapter is to present the concept of process synchronization. So what do you mean by process synchronization? We will see what we are going to discuss in that. We will see in detail. Then we'll see what is the critical section problem, whose solution can be used to ensure the consistency of the state data, right? For the critical section problem, what is the solution? We will see, right? And to present both software, hardware solutions of the critical section problem. So as I told you, synchronization hardware means there we are trying to give the hardware solution. Software means by using some data structures, if you can able to achieve the critical section, that is the software solution, right? Hardware solution means using some instructions, hardware instructions, if you can able to maintain the critical section, then that is the software solution, right? So to examine several classical process synchronization problems, so we will discuss here about the dining philosopher problem, readers writers problem, like that we will discuss the classical process synchronization problems, right? So and several tools that are used to solve the process synchronization problem. So how to solve the process synchronization problems we will see, that is semaphores, monitors, mutex, all those things, right? Now coming to this synchronization, right? So what do you mean by synchronization? Concurrent access to shared data may result in data inconsistency. Yes or no? So you might be discussing about this concept in the DBMS also, right? So see, we uh, we have a bank account, right? So uh, if concurrently two or more transactions are happening in that, definitely it will lead in the consistency of the data, right? So we have to maintain some synchronization to make sure that there is a data consistency, right? Then maintaining the data consistency requires mechanism to ensure that orderly execution of cooperating processes. So if more than one processes are using the same data, they are working on the same data, then they should use some mechanism to ensure the orderly execution. So they has to perform the operations on the data in an order, right? So that is meant by the synchronization. They has to be synchronized. The operation has to be performed in some order, right? So the synchronization mechanism is usually provided by both hardware and operating system, that is software, right? So we all know the producer consumer problem, which we discussed in the previous chapters, right? There we are discussing about the inter-process communications, right? Inter-process communications lo discuss chesam. Then we discussed in where we discussed about this producer consumer problem. Do you remember? In the shared memory. Yes or no, right? If two or more processes are getting access to the same memory, right? There we discussed about the producer consumer problem. Yes or no? Did you remember, guys, about the producer consumer problem? Yes. Yes or no? Do you remember producer has to produce, consumer has to consume, right? Yes, the same thing. So there also synchronization should be followed. What is that? Right? The producer means there should be at least one item, right? Before the consumer is consuming. Agar synchronization enti, first there should be some item, then only the consumer can request. Consumer cannot consume the items which are not produced. Yes or no? Right? So the same thing. There we should follow some kind of synchronization, right? That means your consumer should not be allowed until there is a item in the stack, right? Basic assumption: load and store instructions are atomic. Sorry. Atomicity is one kind of, I can say, this atomicity you can learn in the database. Asset properties of the transactions you will learn. Atomicity, consistency, isolation, and durability, I guess. And this atomic means here the load and store instruction has to be atomic. That means first you have to load, then only store instruction has to get executed, right? That means whenever you are performing some action, the entire action to be completed, or else it should not start at all. That means in the best way I can say this in transactions example, whenever you are performing a transaction, amount has to be deducted, and as well the amount has to be credited in the some other account. Right? Maintaining atomicity means both the transactions, both the actions has to be performed, or else nothing has to be done. Amount deduct ayin tarvata transaction stop avaguddu. Stop aithe enti, that amount will be deducted from one account, will not get affected in the other account. That should not be done. That means what? If the amount deducted and it was not added to the other account where we are transferring, right? Then definitely it has to roll back to the starting point. That means the amount has not to be deducted from the account if it was not credited due to some failure, right? The transaction was stopped in the between, it got interrupted, then it has to be rolled back. The same thing here also, whenever you are performing some set of instructions, set of actions, those instruction has to be completed, or else nothing has to be done. Half instruction complete it should not get affected in the process. You are getting me? It should not get affected on the data items. Why? Because you will be whenever you are executing some process, definitely it will make some modifications on the data items only. So here the basic assumption is your load and store instructions are atomic. So the same thing, this is the producer consumer problem, right? It was the solution we presented in chapter 3 is correct, but can only use the buffer size -1 elements. Avuna kada? Why? Because your buffer should not get overflow. If overflow happens, what happens? Some data may be lost. the data will not be read by that, but data will be lost, right? That methodology is used to allow only a single process to increment, decrement a particular shared variable. Here the same thing. It will allow only one process to modify the variables, right? So this is the solution that fills all the buffers using the same methodology. It's the same thing. Producer will consume, producer will produce the item, he will put the item in the buffer, and the consumer will consume the item, right? So here the producer process increments the value on the variable in, but not out. Out will do the consumer, right? But not in. And here will allow only one person, one process to produce and one person to consume, right? So the solution is more complex. Try and see if we can come up with the algorithm. So that means for this producer consumer problem, we will be seeing some other solution here, right? So that is by using this. So see here they are trying to give you some other solution for the producer consumer problem, right? That is, suppose that we wanted to provide a solution that fills all the buffers where we allow the producer and consumer processes to increment and decrement the same variable. Here what we are doing is, there the producer always produces, but here what we are doing is, we are allowing both the producer and the consumer, right? If the both producer and consumer to increment as well to decrement the same variable, right? In and out, two variables we have seen now, right? So we can do so by adding another integer variable counter that keeps track of the number of full buffers. Initially counter is set to 0. So we will be using one more variable counter here, right? So that what it will do is, the variable counter is incremented by the producer after it produces a new buffer and decremented by the consumer after it consumes a buffer, right? So this is the same thing. What we are doing with the counter is, here the counter we are equating with the buffer size, right? So what the producer will do is, he will put the item in the buffer, right? And he will increment the in variable, right? And what he is doing, he is incrementing the counter variable, counter equal to counter minus 1. But when the consumer is consuming the item, the counter will be counter minus 1. So here what we are doing is, with the counter, what we are doing is, counter is equal to the buffer size. The counter is equal to the buffer size. You are following me, ma? Guys? We are trying to give some other solution for the producer consumer problem. You all are aware of producer consumer problem, yes or no? Yeah, no problem. But you understand the producer consumer problem which we discussed in the last unit with the shared memory concept. Yes or no, guys? Please tell me. Yeah. So here we are trying to give another solution for that. We are using two variables, in and out, right? Producer using one variable for that and consumer using another variable for that. And in is used only by the producer, cannot used by the consumer. Out is used only by the consumer, cannot be used by the producer. But here what we are trying to do is, we are using one more variable called count, right? That can be used by both producer and consumer. When the producer is producing an item, he will increment the counter. When the consumer is consuming the item, he can simply reduce the counter, right? Yeah. Right? And here what is this? What we are doing here, it is, we are making the counter is equal to the buffer size. It was shown here, right? The counter equal to buffer size means what? The buffer is full, right? Then what the producer has to do, he has to do nothing. He should wait for some time. If not, he can produce the items, right? While the counter is equal to 0 means what? There is nothing in the buffer. That means the consumer has to wait. Here with this counter, we are maintaining the synchronization. Yes or no? We are not allowing the consumer to consume the items when the counter is equal to 0 because there is no items. And the producer has to wait when the buffer is full. The producer is not allowed. Otherwise, what happens? Buffer overflow occurs. Yes. The race condition. So counter is equal to, see, counter plus 1. How it is going to be implemented? We'll be using a register. There we will be holding the counter value. And when the counter is incrementing, the register value will be incremented by 1. And that incremented value will be holded in the counter variable. And how this counter minus can be implemented? It can be implemented like this, right? So to explain you this better, right? So let's take an example. Let's take an example, right? There I am taking the counter is equal to 5, right? Then what happens? The producer and consumer process concurrently execute the statement counter plus plus and counter minus minus, right? So let R1, R2 are the two registers. The statements counter plus plus may be implemented in machine language like this. How you are going to do it in the machine languages? So in R1 we are holding the counter. Then the same thing. These are the machine instructions, right? In the register 1 we will be holding the counter. And register will be incremented by 1 and that will be holded here, right? So if you take the counter value is equal to 5, then now the statements will be executed like this. When the producer is producing this, producing some item, right? Then what he will do, initially the counter is 5. Then the counter will be incremented by 1, right? Counter will be incremented by 1. Now the counter will be 6. Register plus 1, now the counter is becoming 6. Then when the consumer is executing, that means consumer is consuming some item, then initially what happens? It is in the register 2, where the counter value is holded, right? You are getting me, guys? See this condition, right? So producer executes the instruction, this register 1 is equal to counter. Initially 5 is there in the counter. Producer executes register 1 is equal to register 1 plus 1. Now the register 1 is holding 6. But when the consumer is consuming, right, it was holded in some other register, no, register 2. It is holding the counter called counter variable, where the counter is equal to 5, because here the other instruction was not executed at. Which one? The counter is equal to register 1 was not executed at. That means the counter value is not updated here. When the consumer is executing this, register 2 is equal to register 2 minus 1, right? Register 2 is equal to 4, right? And when the producer executes, counter is equal to register 1, right? Now the counter will become 6, right? Counter will become 6. But after that, when the consumer is executing the counter, he is taking the value from the register 2. He is taking the value from the register 2. He is taking counter is equal to 4 only. That means here we are having some problem because they are not, the instructions are not executing in the correct order, right? Once again, I will repeat, don't get confused here. See. So producer consumer problem. So here we have discussed about the other producer consumer problem for this by using the counter variable, right? So here the counter variable, the shared buffer is implemented as the circular array. This is all you know, in and out. And we will be initializing the counter with the 0. And the counter is incremented every time we add a new item, right? And it will be decremented each time when we remove one item. So the buffer is empty when the counter is equal to 0 and the buffer is full when the counter is equal to buffer size. Up to this it is clear, no? So the producer has a local variable, right, in which the new item to be produced is stored. The same thing. Here we will be using some next consumed and next produced. These are some local variables that are used by the producer and the consumer, right? The next produced and next, right, consumed. These are the local variables where they are storing the produced items and the consumed items in their local buffers, right? Now, although the producer consumer routines are correct separately, they may not function correctly when they execute concurrently. So that is what I am trying to tell you here. If these two are executing simultaneously, see what I told you, they has to be executed one after the other in some order. Then only we can say they are following the synchronization. But if they both execute concurrently, there will be a problem. The problem is I am showing you here. Actually, because they both are executing concurrently, not simultaneously, right? So without completing these three actions, counter is equal to counter plus 1, the consumer started executing these instructions, right? See, actually the order has to be the three instructions followed by the next three instructions. If you see here, the order has to be, the first three instruction has to be executed first, then only these three has to be done. But here the problem is because they are executing concurrently, after the two instructions got executed, the consumer started executing these two instructions. Then the third instruction started and the fourth instruction started, right? Right? Because of this concurrent execution, we have arrived at the incorrect state. Right? We have entered the incorrect state. What it is? The counter is equal to 4 indicates that the 4 buffer locations are full. But actually, 5 buffer locations are full. Why? Because see, after producing the item, because the counter was not incremented properly in the order, right? The consumer is getting the wrong data, right? The consumer is getting the wrong data. After he consume, right? After he consume, it is showing that there is only 4 items. The count is showing only 4, but actually the count has to be 5. Initially count is 5. Producer produced 1 item, so the count becomes 6. Then after consumer consumed the item, actually the count has to be 5 because these are executing in the concurrent manner. Right? Without the synchronization, we are getting the wrong count value. Right? We are getting the wrong count values. Right? And one more thing. After these two, instead of executing this producer instruction, let's consider the consumer instruction is getting executed, right? Because of this instruction, let's consider the consumer instruction was executed first. Chudandamma, sequence nenu ikkada cheptuna. S0, S1, S2, S3, S4, S5. This is the sequence, right? They were executed in the order S0, S1, S0, S1 first, then S2, S3, these two were executed later. Then this one executed as the 5th instruction and this was executed as the 6th instruction. Now let's consider after this S3, let's consider S5 got executed, then S4. There also you will get the wrong count value, right? Instead of, if you execute, right, we would arrive at the incorrect state where the count is equal to 6. Manaki count అనేది 6 వచ్చేది. Why? Because it is taking the counter variable from the register 1. Right? You are getting this from the register 1. So instead of 4, you will get 6. Here the both are the wrong answers only. Right? When you will get the correct answers, when you execute the instructions in the sequence order as the first instruction as S0, S1, S2, then S3, S4, and S5. If you execute the instructions in the order, then only you will get the correct answer. So what is this race condition? Race condition is several processes access and manipulate the same data concurrently, and the outcome of the execution depend on the particular order in which the access takes place is called the race condition. Right? You are getting me? What is this race condition? The several processes access and manipulate the same data concurrently, and the outcome of the execution depends on the particular order in which the access takes place is called a race condition. So, to guard against the race condition, but how to solve this race condition? We need to ensure that only one process at a time can be manipulating the variable count. To make such a guarantee, we require the process be synchronized. So that means how to solve this race condition? At a time, only one process has to be executing the variable. So the counter has to be done, it has to be used by the producer only, or else it has to be executed by the consumer only. After it was executed by the producer, then only the consumer is allowed to execute it. Or else once it has done by the consumer, then only it has to be allowed to execute by the, and ఏంటంటే simultaneously we should not allow more than one process to execute the common instructions, right? So we need to ensure that only one process at a time can be manipulating the variable counter. To make such guarantee, we require we require that the process be synchronized. Synchronized అంటే ఏంటంటే they has to be executed in order one after the other, right? So count equal to count plus one, it has to be executed completely, right? Is executed as an atomic action. That is, while it is being executed, no other instruction can be executed concurrently. Similarly, it is for the consumer counter equal to counter minus one, right? So the ability to execute an instruction or a number of instruction atomically is crucial for being able to solve many of the synchronization problem, right? Because it is a small instruction, it is okay. But if it is taking long amount of time, right, you should not give the common area to a process for the longer amount of time. So we will be seeing in detail about the synchronization in the previous topics, right? So it is clear for you all, guys? Synchronization problem, right, for the producer consumer problem, right? We have taken the producer consumer problem. There we try to solve the producer consumer problem using the synchronization. Yes, only Stravia is responding. Yes, okay. I want more responses. Then we will see the critical section problem, right? So I'll have some water and come. Give me 2 minutes. So today, if you can complete this critical section problem, in the next class, we can see the synchronization hardware, right? Yes, ma'am. So we are done with this synchronization. No, Narayan. Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry. Yes. So you understand this, no? Right? Uh, about this synchronization and the, how the producer consumer problem can be solved using the synchronization, right? So what we are trying to do is here we'll be using a variable called count variable, right? The common variable where both can be allowed to use this variable, counter variable. When the producer is producing the item, the producer will increment and the consumer is consuming, the consumer will decrement, right? But what is the problem with this? We are having the race condition problem, right? Means we are getting the incorrect data, right? Because the both producer and consumer instructions are not getting executed in order, right? They has to be done, means they should follow the atomic property. They has to be completely executed, right? So the count equal to count plus 1 means it has to be executed completely before the other process is using that count variable, right? So how we are going to solve this race condition problem is by making the action as the atomic action, right? Up to this it is clear, no? Yes or no, guys? Right? Can I proceed? Please reply. Yeah. Now coming to this critical section problem, right? So consider the system is consisting of n processes, P0 to Pn minus 1. So each process has a segment of code. Each process has a segment of code. We can call it as critical section, in which the process may be changing the common variables, updating a table, or writing a file, and so on. Right? Each process has a segment of code. You can call the code as critical section, right? So in that, the process may be changing the variables, updating the table, or writing the file, or whatever it is doing, right? Now, while one process is executing in its critical section, no other process is allowed to execute in its critical section. You're getting me, right? When one process is in its critical section, no other process is allowed to enter into the critical section, right? Here, what is this critical section problem, right? So the critical section problem is to design a protocol to solve this. And when one process is inside, we should not allow the other processes. No, how it can be achieved? It can be achieved by a protocol, right? Now, if you can see this, right. So this is the general structure of the process P1, ma. So what process will do is, process will execute this entry section. That means it is entering into the critical section. After it is done with the critical section, then it will come out of the critical section. After performing the operations on the critical section, it will exit the section and it will be executing the reminder section, right? And then after completing, it will come out of that, right? The process is completed. Now here, each process must request permission to enter its critical section, right? The section of code is implementing. Entering request is the entry section. So first, whenever a process wants to enter its critical section, the process must request the permission to enter its critical section. So it should ask the operating system saying that it wants to use the variables inside the critical section. So that can be done in the entry section. Now, if it got the permission, then it will enter the critical section and it will do its job. Then the critical section may be followed an exit section. So after that, it has to exit, right? So it should tell the operating system that it is done with the job in the critical section and the remaining code. So critical section lone kakunda, the process may be having some other operations which has to be performed to complete its job, right? Those are called reminder section, right? So the entry section, exit section are enclosed in the boxes to highlight these important segments of the code. Why I am putting this in the boxes is to tell that these are the means whenever we are using the critical section, you have to do these two things, entry section and exit section, right? Now, a solution to the critical section problem must be satisfied by using, it was a solution to the critical section problem must be satisfy the following three requirements. So whenever if you want to give the solution for the critical section problem, the critical section problem must satisfy the requirements. What are those is mutual exclusion, progress and bounded waiting, right? Mutual exclusion, process and bounded waiting. That means if process PI is executing in its critical section, no other process can be executing in the critical section. Yes or no? So whenever you are giving the solution for the critical section problem, first you have to satisfy this mutual exclusion. ఇప్పుడు ఒక process critical section లోపల ఉంది అంటే no other process is allowed to do that. Second, progress. If no process is executing in its critical section and some process wish to enter their critical section, then only those processes that are not executing in their reminder section can participate in deciding which will enter its critical section next, and this selection cannot be postponed indefinitely. ఇక్కడ ప్రోగ్రెస్ అంటే ఏంటంటే no process is executing in the critical section and some process wish to enter their critical sections, right? You are understanding? And some processes wish to enter their critical sections, then only those processes that are not executing in their reminder section. అంటే ఏంటంటే క్రిటికల్ సెక్షన్ యూజ్ చేసి రిమైండర్ సెక్షన్ లో ఉన్న ప్రాసెసెస్ కి పర్మిషన్ లేదు. దోస్ విల్ నాట్ బి allowed to enter their critical section again. Here, the only process those are not executing in their reminder section can participate in deciding which will enter the critical section next, and this critical section cannot be postponed, right? Vatillo, they should, when more than one processes are wants to enter their critical section, then they has to decide which will enter first into the critical section, and remember they are not executing their reminder section at the time. Now, bounded waiting. After a process has made a request to enter its critical section and before the request is granted, there exists a limit on the number of times that the processes are allowed to enter their critical section. ఒకసారి ఎంటర్ అయిన తర్వాత మళ్ళీ ఎంటర్ అవ్వాలి అంటే దే హ్యాస్ టు వెయిట్ ఫర్ సమ్ టైమ్, రైట్? అండ్ దే హ్యావ్ ది లిమిట్ ఆన్ ద నెంబర్ ఆఫ్ టైమ్స్ that other processes are allowed to enter their critical section, right? So we will see in detail about this, why we are having a limit. ఒకసారి ఎంటర్ అయింది మళ్ళీ ఇమీడియట్ గా ఎందుకు ఎంటర్ అవ్వదు, ఎన్ని నెంబర్ ఆఫ్ టైమ్స్ అది ఎంటర్ అవ్వచ్చు, ఆల్ దిస్ we have the restrictions. No, we will see about this in detail right now. So if you see the critical section problem for PI, how this is going to be done is, entry section is critical section is to disable interrupts, right? Entry section to critical section is to disable interrupts. అంటే ఏంటంటే when one process is entering into the critical section, in the entry section all the interrupts will be disabled. That means no other process is allowed to interrupt, right? Now execute in the critical section and exit section is to enable interrupt. అంటే ఏంటంటే now you are allowing the other processes to request for the critical section. So if you see the implementation issues, if it is a uniprocessor system, currently running code would execute without preemption. If it is in the multiprocessor system, generally too inefficient on the multiprocessor systems, this algorithm. Why? Because when you have multiple processors, right, multiple processes will be getting executed and the other process may not be knowing about the critical section. So that means without knowing, it may allow the other process to enter into the critical section. So that is not our algorithm. That is not our algorithm will allow to do it, right? So operating systems using this not broadly scalable, right? So is this an acceptable solution? That means this is impractical in the critical section code, is taking a long time to execute. So this simple kind of execution is not possible when a process is taking or spending the long amount of time in the critical section, right? Now for this, use a variable called turn variable, right? So entry exit is one solution, right? Entry exit is one solution, but here we'll be having one more solution. So this solution I can call it as Pearson solution, right? I can call it as. So what I'm doing here is keep a variable turn to indicate which process is next, right? So while turn is equal to j, it will enter into the critical section, right? Then it will execute the remainder section. So this algorithm, this using this turn variable will be correct if only one process at a time is in the critical section. But it will result in the busy waiting. Why? Because the other process has to wait for long amount of time, right? So if Pi wants to enter, then critical section turn is equal to j, and Pj does not want to enter the critical section. So ఇక్కడ ఏం చెప్తున్నానంటే when two or more processes are means if more than one process wants to enter into the critical section, now what Pi will do is when Pi is entering into the critical section, it will make the turn is equal to j. అంటే ఏంటంటే నెక్స్ట్ j అని. But after that, if Pj doesn't want to enter the critical section, then who will change this turn variable? It is making the busy waiting. So here j does not want to enter into the critical section, and the critical section will not allow any other process enter into the critical section, right? So you are getting me this, right? Now the same thing, turn the variable, yes, have a variable indicates turn is equal to j. Now solution for the critical section. So this is the same thing as I told you. I discussed about this mutual exclusion, progress and bounded waiting. Yes or no? We discussed about the mutual exclusion. Critical section problem lo entante at a time it will allow only one process to enter into the critical section. Progress means if no process is executing in the critical section and there exist some processes that wish to enter, then they has to decide in their own, right? They should not postpone it. Bounded waiting means a bound must exist on the number of times that other processes are allowed to enter their critical section after the process has made a request to enter its critical section and before the request is granted, right? So here assume that each process executes at a non-zero speed no assumption, right? Concerning relative speed of n processes. So this point you need now. Coming to this, you have a solution for this problem. As I told you, that is called Peterson solution. Now we will be discussing about the Peterson solution for the critical section problem, right? We'll be discussing about Peterson solution for the critical section problem, right? So normally, two general approaches are used to handle the critical sections in the operating system. One is preemptive kernel and non-preemptive kernel. So preemptive kernel means it allows a process to be preempted while it is running in the kernel mode. Non-preemptive means does not allow a process running in the kernel mode to be preempted, right? Remember, for your information, I am giving this. You have two general approaches for the critical section problem, right? One is preemptive kernel, so allows a process to be preempted while it is in the kernel mode. Non-preemptive will not be allowed to preempt the process when it is in the kernel mode. Now coming to this Peterson solution. So Peterson solution, we can call it as it is a classic software-based solution to the critical section problem, right? So here the Peterson solution is restricted to two processes that alternate execution between their critical sections and the remainder sections, right? It is restricted to two processes, right? So that is the reason I can say it is the two process solution, right, for the critical section problem, right? So assume that load and store are the machine language instructions which are atomic, that is cannot be interrupted. When see the same thing మనం ఇంతకు ముందు అటామిక్ అని ఏవైతే చూసామో, right? Count plus plus, count minus minus. Here also the same thing. When load and store are being executed, they has to be atomic. Now let's consider you have two processes, right? P0 and P1, right? Let Pi represents one process and Pj represents another process, and here j is equal to I minus 1. J is equal to I minus 1. And here we'll be using two variables, where the two processes are sharing the variables. One is turn variable, which is of integer type. The other one is flag variable, which is of Boolean type, means true or false. Now, the variable turn indicates whose turn it is to enter the critical section. So turn will tell you who will enter into the critical section. And the flag array is used to indicate if a process is ready to enter into the critical section. Flag of I is equal to true implies that the process Pi is ready. You understand this, right? It is applicable only with the two processes, where two processes are using the critical section. Now see the algorithm, right? Do flag of I is equal to true. That means what? Pi is ready to enter into the critical section, right? Now turn is equal to j, right? That means next Pj can enter into the critical section. Next who will enter the critical section after Pi is Pj. Now while flag of j and turn is equal to j, right? While flag of j and turn is equal to j, then enter into the critical section. So after that, what it will do when it is entering out of the critical section, it will make flag of I is equal to false. Now Pi is out of the critical section. Now it is not ready to enter into the critical section because it is executing the remainder part, right? Now Pj can enter into the critical section. So this is the algorithm for process Pi. So whenever Pi wants to use the critical section, initially its flag will be true, then it will make the turn is equal to j, and right, while flag of j and turn is equal to j, next then Pi can enter into the critical section, right? ఇక్కడ బ్లాక్స్ లో ఎందుకు పెట్టారంటే ఫస్ట్ ఈస్ ఎంట్రీ దెన్ ఎగ్జిట్, రైట్? ఎంటర్ అయ్యే ముందు ఇట్ విల్ మేక్ దోస్ థింగ్స్, దెన్ when exiting it will make flag of I is equal to false. That means it is out of the critical section now. Now the critical section is free so that Pj can enter into the critical section now. Now Pi is executing the remainder section, right? Now the variable turn indicates whose turn is to enter the critical section. You all know this. And at any point of time, the turn value will be either 0 or 1, but not both. So that means either P0 will enter into the critical section or P1 will enter into the critical section, right? But not both. It should not hold both the values at a time. Now, if the turn is equal to I, then Pi is allowed to execute in its critical section, right? If turn is equal to j, then Pj is allowed to execute in its critical section, right? Now, the flag array is used to indicate if a process is ready to enter in its critical section. That means if flag of I is equal to true, right? This value indicates Pi is ready to enter into the critical section. Now, to enter the critical section, first Pi will do, Pi first sets flag is equal to true, then set turn is equal to j, thereby Pi checks if the other process wishes to enter the critical section, right? It can do so. If both processes try to enter at the same time, then turn will be set to both I and j at the same time, but only one of these assignments will be taken. The other will occur but will be overwritten immediately, right? If both are trying to enter at the same time, right, then what happens is first it will give the turn to I, then immediately it will change the turn to j. That means based on how they are requesting, any one of them will get the chance to enter into the critical section. So the eventual value of the turn determines, right? The eventual value of the turn determines which of the two processes is allowed to enter into the critical section. Now, as I told you, for the critical section, it should satisfy mutual exclusion, progress, and the bounded waiting. Let's see whether they are satisfying these three or not, right? So that means what I'm trying to tell you is the code which we have seen, it has to satisfy the following requirements. It has to satisfy the requirements as mutual exclusion, progress, and bounded requirements. Let's see, check for the mutual exclusion. So how it is achieving the mutual exclusion is, each Pi enters the critical section only if either P of j is equal to false or turn is equal to I, right? Pi enters its critical section only if flag of j is equal to false and turn is equal to I. Avuna kadandi? Initially Pi wants to enter into the critical section. Initially, right, flag of I, sorry, if Pi wants to enter into the critical section, its flag of j should be false. That means Pj does not want to enter into the critical section and turn is equal to I now. When these two conditions are satisfying, then only Pi can enter, right? If both processes can be executing in their critical section at the same time, then flag of 0 equal to flag of 1 is equal to true. But the value of the turn can be either 0 or 1 but cannot be both. Avuna kada? Flag value can be true for both, but turn will be either 1 or 2 at a time. Ikkada I comma j antunnanu. I am taking an example as P0, P1. So that is the reason I am telling either a turn can be I or j at a time, right? Here, P0, P1 could not have successfully executed their while statement at the above at the same time, right? Why? Because they both cannot enter the critical section at a time, right? Now, if Pi executed turn is equal to J, Pi executed turn equal to J, and the process J executed flag of J is equal to true, then Pj will have successfully executed the while statement. Now Pj will enter into the critical section. Now చూడండమ్మా ఇక్కడ not only P1 of Pi I కాదు, if Pi and Pj both wants to execute the algorithm at the same time, right? Let's consider. It is making flag of I is equal to true, Pi, and Pj is making flag of I is equal to true. Both are true now. But Pi is making turn is equal to J. ఎందుకు అంటే because it is entering into the critical section, it is making the turn is equal to J. అంటే ఏంటంటే next it is giving the chance to J, right? Now here, right here, if Pj is executing this flag of J is equal to true, right, after turn becomes J, and this P of J is executing P of J is equal to true. Now what? Turn is J and the flag of J is equal to true, then J is allowed into the critical section. Now J is allowed into the critical section. Now at this time, flag of J is equal to true and turn is equal to J, and this condition will persist as long as Pj is in the critical section. As a result, mutual exclusion is preserved. Now, until unless this J is coming out of the critical section, it will not make flag of J is equal to false. అంటే ఏంటంటే when one process is inside the critical section, no other process will be allowed to enter into the critical section. That means with this, your mutual exclusion is satisfied. Clear? Seema, two processes can compete for the critical section, but only one can enter. But when it entered into the critical section, once one process entered into the critical section, until unless it is coming out of it, no other process will allow to enter into the critical section. So that means you are achieving the mutual exclusion. Clear? Now, coming to this, check for the progress and the bounded waiting. Right? Check for the progress and bounded waiting. Now, the while loop is the only possible way that a process Pi can be prevented from entering into the critical section. Right? Only if it is stuck in the while loop with the condition flag of J is equal to true and turn is equal to J. అవునా కదా? Flag of J is equal to true ఉంది, turn J ఉంది అంటే ఏంటంటే Pi can be prevented from entering into the critical section. Now, if Bj is not ready to enter into the critical section, it will make flag of J is equal to false and Pi can enter into the critical section. Now, if Pj has said flag of J is equal to true and also executing in its while loop, then either turn is equal to I or turn is equal to J. Flag of J is equal to true. Now, Pj is ready to enter into the critical section, right? Right? Now, I also wants to enter into the critical section. Now, it will make turn is equal to I when it was done with the execution part. That means if turn is equal to I, then Pi will enter the critical section. If turn is equal to J, Pj will enter into the critical section. Once Pj exits its critical section, right, it will reset the flag to false, allowing Pi to enter. If Pi resets the flag J is equal to true, right, it must also set turn is equal to I. Thus, Pi does not change the value of the variable turn while executing the while statement. That means Pi will enter the critical section after at most one entry by Pj. Right? That means you are going to satisfy both the progress and the bounded wait here. So when one is doing into the critical section, it has to be done, it has to be working on the critical section, it has to perform some operations on the data items in the critical section, right? So that means that is satisfying the progress. And what is bounded waiting? When PI is entering into the critical section, right? When PI is entering into the critical section, now PJ has to wait. When one is entering into the critical section, the other has to wait, right? Yes or no? Once PI completed its task in the critical section and it is in the reminder part, it is executing the instruction in the reminder part. At the time, right, PJ will be allowed to enter into the critical section. That means with this, bounded waiting is also being executed, right? So with this, you are going to satisfy all the three conditions, right? So that I can say this is the one of the solution for the critical section problem. But it is also having some limitations. The critical section problem is also having some limitations, right? What are the limitations are? Excuse me, right. There is no guarantee that Peterson solution will work correctly on modern computer architecture, right? Why? Because modern computers are multiprocessor computers are there, and it will allow more number of processes to run at the same time, right? And it is using the basic machine language instructions such as load and store, right? It is using the simple instructions, load and store. So this load and store has to be atomic, as I told you before, right? So the critical section problem could be solved simply in a single processor environment if we could prevent interrupts from occurring while a shared variable was being modified, right? This is a non-preemptive kernel approach. We could be sure that the current sequence of the instruction would be allowed to execute in order without preemption. No other instruction would run, so no exempted modification could be made on the shared variable. But this solution is not feasible in a multiprocessor environment. ఇక్కడ నేను ఏం చెప్తున్నాను, వీఆర్ లాకింగ్ ది ఇంటరప్ట్స్. ఒక్కసారి ఒక ప్రాసెస్ క్రిటికల్ సెక్షన్ లో ఎంటర్ అయింది అంటే వీఆర్ నాట్ అలోయింగ్ ఎనీ అదర్ ప్రాసెస్ టు interrupt the variable on the critical section, but that is not possible in the multiprocessor environment. Endukante when on multiple processors, multiple jobs can be executing, right? Those multiple jobs can be causing the interrupts, right? Okay, uniprocessor system lo ante you can hold the interrupts on a single processor, but when we are using the multiple processors, right? So this disabling interrupts on the multiple processors can be time consuming since the message is passed to all the processors. So it is time consuming, right? So this message passing delays entry to each critical section and system efficiency is decreased, right? So for that, what we do is we use a solution, that is we use the some clock here, and if the clock is kept updating by interrupts, there will be an effect on the system's clock, right? We'll be using the message passing, right? Clocks petavanukondi. So every time the interrupts, right? Interrupts are updating the clock, it will affect your system time also. So this is the reason your Peterson problem is not efficient on the multiprocessor system. So this is the problem with the Peterson solution. How this can be solved? How this can be solved is, it can be solved by using the hardware support, right? Many systems provide the hardware support to implementing the critical section code. So these solutions are based on the idea of locking, right? Instead of disabling the interrupts, right, and all, instead we use a simple locking. So we'll use some locks. First acquire the lock on the critical section. అంటే ఏంటంటే మనకు ఒక రూమ్ ఉంది, ఆ రూమ్ లోకి ఎంటర్ అవ్వాలి, రైట్? ఇక్కడ మన సొల్యూషన్ ఏం చెప్తున్నాం అంటే will be using the logs whenever anyone wants to enter into the critical section. First they will log the area and they will enter, so that because it is logged, no other is allowed to enter into that. And once they are done with the job in the critical section, they will release the lock on the critical section, so that the other processes will be allowed to enter into the critical section, right? So about the synchronization hardware we will discuss in the next class. Seema, I know this is a bit complex concept, right? What you have to do is you have to go through the topics once again after the class, right? So that you will understand it better, right? These are simple concepts only, but you may feel it as confusing a bit, right? So for that, what you are supposed to do is please go through the notes, right? Please go through the notes or go through the textbook once again, right, after the class, so that you will better understand. So what we discussed today, we discussed about the producer consumer problem solution, right? And what is the race condition and the solution for that. Then we discussed what is the critical section problem. The notes is uploaded in the tessellator, I guess. If not, I will share you the notes. Not and what are the parameters or what are the requirements it should satisfy, we have discussed. Then Peterson solution we have discussed. And see, my ikkada ela untundante, for every problem first we see a solution, and that solution will be having some limitations. Then what we try to do is we try to come out of the solutions by giving some other solution, and again that will have some limitations, and we try to come out of the limitations by using the some other algorithm. Like that we will be doing, right? So initially only in the producer consumer problem, initially we have an in and out, but then we added counter. But the counter, we have to follow the synchronization, otherwise it is leading to the race condition, right? Then we discussed how synchronization has to be managed. Then we discussed about the critical section problem, right? And then in the critical section, for the critical section we have given a simple problem, simple solution, that is Peterson solution. But in the Peterson solution we are having some limitations, right? So for that we are taking now the hardware support. Peterson solution is a software support, right? It is giving the solution in terms of the data structures in terms of software. But when it is coming to the synchronization hardware, there we are trying to give the hardware solution for the synchronization. That we will see in the next class, right? So it is clear for you all? You still have any doubts?